Home Show.
Orlean from Willowbrook has a question about fence replacement.
Yeah, he wants to know what wood would you use for one of the details on his fence, Tom. Orlean writes, I understand pressure-treated wood is good for post and cedars are good for pickets. My HOA requires a double-capped top on the fence. The fence companies disagree whether it's cedar or pressure-treated pine for the cap layer since it'll be laying flat. What would you recommend, Tom?
When you do put wood out and it's flat like that, but, well, I'll get there in a minute. It does tend to cup, especially pressure-treated, and I would use pressure-treated over cedar if you got to do that. As far as the whole structure goes, it would definitely be pressure-treated. But what happens is it's still going to weather and it's still going to curl and cup, and then it holds water, and then eventually the caps will have to be replaced. The rest of the fence will probably be okay. But think about it like a deck. Decks are horizontal too, and they hold water and they do the same thing. So they'll still last a long time, but it's not a great detail. And that's why the new decking material, even though the structure is all pressure treated, we're going to products like Trex and some of the other synthetic, well, I call them synthetic, but the different types that don't do that and don't have a problem with that flatness that you'll get with any kind of lumber. But pressure treated for the flat part is, if you're going to do wood, it's the only way to go. If you want to do a different product, it would look weird, but you could do it. I don't think I'd spend the money.
You said something there a minute ago about cedar. What's your caution on cedar?
Okay, when you get cedar pickets, most of them today, and you got to make it real clear to your fence builder, or if you're going to be buying it yourself, they're coming from overseas, and they are milled too thin, the trees are too young, and they're using all the garbage and making fence pickets out of them, and they're not lasting but 6, 7, 8 years, and they just start to crack and fall apart. And so I would use pressure treated if you had a choice between those two. Now, if you want to go to a high quality cedar, which is expensive, because they usually use that for siding and other types of decking and gazebos, and because that's real high quality cedar. But if you want to get the fence posts, make sure it's domestic, because they have to be milled an exact thickness, and it'll be a better quality lumber. And that way you can have that look of cedar. Although, you know, Charlie, after you go drive through Houston, and I did when I was a kid, nobody had fences. They had hedges and stuff, but we just ran from yard to yard, right, and unless you had a swimming pool. But today in Houston, it's nothing but fences, and they all look like garbage after a while. I don't care what you get.
Yeah.
So I guess you could get the vinyl fences, but it would look weird. You'd be the only one in the neighborhood. They're really expensive. And do they really give you the privacy? They don't really. They have privacy ones, but man, they can be costly, and it just doesn't fit the scope of what we do in Houston.
My mother has vinyl fencing around her house in Utah. Very popular out there, I think, probably because of the weather.
But see, it matches all the other ones, right?
Right.
Everybody else has it too.
Yep. But I wouldn't have it. I think it looks like looks like it came from Fisher Price. You know, I like.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's just my taste, but I like a nice wood fence. And you know what? It's the cost of having a nice wood fence is like, my dad taught me a long time ago. If you can't afford the dues, don't join the club. And if you own a fence and it's going to age, you're better build in the idea that one day you're going to have to replace it, because that's just the nature of a fence. It only lasts so long.
Or
somebody must disagree.
You can go the other route
fire engine
that they
coming
did
for me.
many years ago. Huh?
Yeah. I said there's a fire engine coming. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, what are you going to do? But the other route is paint it.
Yeah.
Huckleberry Finn, get your friends here, paint my fence. When you go up north, Charlie, and you came from the Northeast, and I've spent much of my life in the Northeast, all the decks, all the fences, everybody paints that stuff, because at one time they didn't have pressure-treated lumber, and some of those decks can be 80 years old, but they kept them whitewashed. Every few years, you were out there in the spring painting your deck, painting your handrails.
Ours was painted like a dark red on our house up in New Hampshire, where I grew up. So, all right,
very popular because it holds up.
Right. So there you go. So maybe that's some advice. But I wonder what the HOA would say about painting your fence.
I don't know.
All right, you got a question. Yeah, you solved enough of a problem. So pressure treated on the top is the answer for that.
Yeah.
You got a question? Tom will give you an answer just like that. And look at all the interesting background you get. All you got to do is visit HomeShowRadio.com, fill out the Ask Tom form, send it in. We'll do a video like this that we'll place on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and HomeShowRadio.com. There's a new one of these that goes up every day.